Hey everybody, before you continue watching the video, make sure you give the channel a like and subscribe. Go and follow us on Instagram. Go and check out all the different social media scenarios. Make sure if you're enjoying the content, go there, like, subscribe, follow, so we can keep putting stuff out. If you've got any questions, leave a comment. All right, make a comment on either of our pages and we'll answer them as soon as we can.
Being your coach from the beginning, right? So that was something that insights that I have the other day when I was thinking about some questions to ask you. Like, I remember at one point, for example, this came really vivid in my head. At one point, I was like talking, give you feedbacks. You know, we train together. I'll give you feedback, and obviously the coach in his heart, he wants to make the person better. You know. And he's trying to he's giving you feedback in goodwill. And I remember initially you have you felt like upset that you're getting that, like you're getting upset at one point, like you couldn't really receive that and transforming development, right? And there was one point, which I could not pinpoint that point, that's what I want to ask you, that you changed. And then you started to receive that information and be more thirsty and understood that was providing, that's what's going to be another form of providing your development in BJJ. And then suddenly you become that very thirsty about knowledge and open to and accountable, you know what I mean, like to your development. And when was, in your opinion, when was that turning point? What happened? There was something, a specific action that happened one day, or there was just something natural transition, or
I don't know if it was like a specific point. I think
like, do you remember the belt? That transformation? Like, I was talking to Anthony, maybe blue, maybe purple, but I honestly don't remember what was that. That's what I want to ask you.
I'd say blue going into purple was when I started to really pick up on the techniques and started to sort of take what you would say in. I think at the beginning, I probably wasn't that receptive of the feedback because I felt personally like attacked.
Yeah. Yes.
But I think that's more can come down to like a maturity thing. You know, I was still 19, 20 at the time. So as I've gotten older, you sort of realize that you begin to appreciate these people just telling it how it is. Yeah. Like you can at the end of the day, like if you're doing something wrong and the black belt's telling you doing something wrong, you can either go, get offended and go, oh, I suck, this and that, or you can go, all right, well, I suck, or I'm not doing this right, I need to change it. And I think that comes down to, developing maybe a thicker skin or, just being more receptive to criticism, I suppose.
I think, like you kind of said it before, though, as well, like you actually said it before in the last question, you said at some point in time, your goal changed. It wasn't about like getting this belt or getting this thing or getting this accolade or level of status. It was just about like, my goal was just to improve and to get better. And I think that is probably at the same time that happened is when you also become more receptive to, and it could be maturity and evolving as a person and all that type of thing, or understanding like the reality of jiu-jitsu. And I think like for me, the coolest thing about jiu-jitsu is how there's no bullshit. Like, it doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter your doctrine or ideology of what you think is the way of living, or life is like this, or things like that. It does not matter. It doesn't matter if you're this ethnicity or this ethnicity. Jiu-jitsu works like this for everybody. And unless you do that, you don't have success. Unless you do that, and unless you do exactly what Matt said before, is you go and magnify your flaws and actively work on improving them, you don't get better. You don't improve. And it's not about how you feel. It's not about how you think. It's not about what color the sky is.
And it's not about how you want other people to think about you. There's nothing to do with that.
It's got nothing to do with your pride or any of this emotional stuff. It works like this, and it's completely honest in that way. And that's the beauty that I find in jiu-jitsu, is there's nothing more honest in the world than this thing, because it doesn't matter any of these variables or situational things. This is how it operates. This is how it works. And if you take the time to understand that, you can achieve the things that you want. And for me, that's beautiful, because you give people the ability to control life. which is normally uncontrollable.
Yeah, I feel like this is a big issue with, especially like, you know, the white belts or beginning on the journey is they're all about getting the coloured belt moving up.
Big time.
And the issue with I mean, it's not bad to focus on that. I mean, everyone does it, I suppose.
It's just that if that's the only goal, it doesn't last.
You get your blue belt, now what? You know, you still got 7 years, 8 years away from getting a black. Like, you that can't be the focus. The focus should be getting better at jiu-jitsu, and then the belts will eventually reflect that.
Yeah.
But
do you agree with that? The fact that for you to get better in jiu-jitsu, right, you're gonna have to work on your weaknesses. You're gonna have to keep thinking, and you're gonna have to open up. And that'll be your jiu-jitsu at short term. With mine, there's big chance they'll get worse. Because you're not going to be using your best game, your A game, because you will open up.
But I don't think that's getting worse, and that's the common problem that people have. Like, they're focused on results, and the problem is when you focus on results, whether I won or I lost, it's not that it's getting worse. You just suffering.
Seem to get worse at first, but you
because you're losing. But do you know what I mean?
You're lapidating the much bigger, broader, technical yourself. Your best version.
So the funny thing is actually you're improving. You're just suffering the consequence.
Correct,
of
and you're not looking good. Might not feel great. People might not feel great.
But you only don't feel great if you care about the results. In the sense that if you go, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to try whatever position that I don't usually do, and I might get my guard pass 50 times. But if you don't care and you know in your head, you're like, man, I'm taking risks and I'm trying to get better at this.
Yeah.
And you understand that, yes, at the start you're not good at it, and you know you're going to suffer the consequences in terms of them passing the guard or whatever that may be. But if you know in your head at the time the end result is I'm going to get better at this position and eventually this will be part of my game, then it doesn't really that's never really bothered me. Like, I've never had a issue with trying new things, and don't care too much about if I get my guard, if it doesn't work in training.
If you lose. So you learn how to put your pride aside, which is almost impossible for a lot of people.
Yeah, and even, I mean, like, I'm not perfect. Like, even times like, oh, man, I'll get mad if I make a mistake and things like that. But ultimately, I think you have to come to training, and Anton always touches on this at training, is the purpose of coming here to train is skill acquisition. It's not to win. This isn't the World Championships. This isn't a competition.
I think Anton is an active example, like that someone that's actually in training trying to develop techniques all over and over and different, going exploring and try to lapidate them, so that for us is a great influence itself, you know what I mean?
And it feeds because he keeps it fresh, and because you try new things, it keeps jiu-jitsu fresh and it makes you want to come back.
Yeah, enjoyable.
Whereas if you do the same thing over and over, you got your 3 positions that you do over and over again, then it gets boring and stale. So I feel like the more risks you take in training and trying new things out, the more fresh and interesting it becomes, and then that's when you get really addicted, and that's when you want to come back and you want to get better at it. And then eventually you've got a number of different positions you're competent at, and then you move on to the next things, or you try new things out and bring back positions you used to do, and that's I think that's why I felt like I am addicted to jiu-jitsu and keep coming back year after year, is because I try to keep it fresh. Anyway.
Yeah, and you're exploring and you're trying new stuff and you're evolving and learning. Like for some of the guys, like, because you were saying before, like, so it's harder for a lot of the white belts and blue belts, but it's not only harder for them. Like, there's guys here that have been training for 8 years, 10 years, like way longer, than 12 years, even longer, whatever, that still struggle with that part of their pride. Do you have any advice for people that don't know how to put their pride aside? And like you said before, I'm ultra competitive. You know what I mean? I'm ultra competitive. I don't like losing. I don't enjoy being beaten by somebody or getting my guard passed or whatever. But I still understand that to improve in jiu-jitsu, improve in skills, you are going to have to put your pride aside and accept what that means. And a lot of the time, that means you are going to lose, that you are going to tap, that you are going to fail. And you can weigh in on it as well. Like, what do you guys think about? Because people will go to the grave over their pride. This is the crazy thing. They're working against themselves because they want to keep their pride intact. And it's not worth it. And the thing is like in all scenarios, whether it's jiu-jitsu, business, relationship, whatever, pride is what, man, people hold on to the end of their life. And some people take that to the grave. They go all the way until the rest of their life, until, you know, they're 50, 60, they can't do the thing they wanted anymore, it's impossible, and it's too late, and now they want to change. And this, like, what's some words of advice that you can help
I just
people?
think, like, you having to deal with pride is, you know, you get beaten on a Tuesday night, and it's Tuesday 6 o'clock. Guess what? Nobody cares.
Yeah,
But
no one
who cares? It doesn't matter.
True.
Do you think you're going to look back in 5 years' time, 6 years' time, and remember that time you got beaten by someone that you think you're better than?
Yeah.
No one cares.
And the other thing, when you're coaching as well, like people think that what the coach can fix. The coach also doesn't care. I always tell that
He doesn't even see it.
Even if he sees it, he understands that it's a much broader thing than that, my friend.
It's one specific role on an obscure night at training.
And you're trying.
Who cares? No one cares.
But they care, and this is the problem. I don't know what it's, and this is advice that you can take into anything. Like sometimes, like for example, whether it's relationship, whether it's business, there's times you have to apologize. There's times that you have to, take back the thing that you're doing that's overly aggressive, whatever. And we had Munsuk here talking, in our last podcast about how he's had that same mindset in business, and he has to deal with people when he takes over companies and businesses and things like that, and he has to be nice to them. He can do it in an aggressive way or he can do it in a nice way, and he puts his pride aside and goes, I'm not going to be horrible in this opportunity. I choose to be a decent person, and I choose to do this as amicably as possible. And for some people, it's just really, really hard to put that aside because they've built their life on this pride. My pride is me. My pride is everything, and I'm going to go to the grave for that pride. And unfortunately, 20 years later, 30 years later, if they ever recognize it, they realize that it was a mistake. But the problem is people generally only find out at the end. They find out when it's too late to change, or they find out when it's too hard to adjust.
Yeah, you need to like what you said, let go of that pride. So you need to understand. Like, it's up to the student themselves, but at the end of the day, you can't.
Do you think that's something you had naturally going into it though, or is it something that you developed while doing jiu-jitsu? Like,
I'd say at the start, like Eduardo said, when he would give me advice, and I'd almost be like, he thinks I suck, this and that, and you can go into this like negative spiral. I don't know. I think as I progress, you just sort of begin to understand that you don't really know that much, and you can either just keep doing the same things that you're doing and hope for the results, or you can listen to what the more experienced coaches say to you and take that on board and try to address it. And I honestly think it is like the biggest thing that holds people's development back is the ego or the pride is. For sure. It's because they think, they can't accept the fact that they're going to lose in training. You just have to understand that nobody cares and just let it go, and the goal is to get better.
I think the funny thing is like life's actually easy. It's people that are complicated. You know what I mean? Like you can listen to a podcast, or you can have someone describe how things work to you, and it's easy to understand. But to go and do that in practice with your own emotions and all your own problems and all the things that you contribute to that thing is what makes it complicated. Because if you look at jiu-jitsu black and white, there's not really that many things to understand. It's like a few different ways your body moves, the mechanics of your body, and a few different understandings of this and that. And outside of that, you're doing the same thing over and over and over. But once you add all of this, and like I'm oversimplifying it, obviously, it is complicated and it is highly technical and all these things, but like the most difficult part of jiu-jitsu, aside from the skill itself, is the thing that people need to work on to be decent at anything, which is themselves. And nobody focuses much on that. You know what I mean? That's always something that you can just push off and blame other people for. You know what I mean? Like,
and it's the beautiful thing about this is it's not just, this mindset is not just applicable for jiu-jitsu. And this is, as I've been on this journey, what I've come to realise is like no matter what pursuit you do, you need to have the mindset, like the beginner's mindset of I don't know anything, that's okay, but what am I going to do tomorrow that can, at least get me, it's just incremental changes, incremental...
1% better.
Yeah, 1% better. And then over the course of 10 years or 1 year or 1 month, that compounds, and then you're going to be, so much better than what you were when you first started.
It's funny, like has my next question is a bit.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you give it a like, subscribe, and a follow. Check out all our different social media platforms. There's heaps of content coming out. There's different snippets and content on different platforms. So make sure you're on everything. And again, if it helped you out, recommend to somebody else, and hopefully it'll help them out too.